Now to the 101st question. What distinguishes a political party from other institutions is the desire to dash. What's a political party? A political party refers to an human association that consists of people who are organized and with an objective. And what is the objective of a political party? To form government. If you don't see to form government, what can you pick? To win election. If you don't see to win election, what can you pick? To hijack political power. So what distinguishes a political party from other social institutions? Social institutions like family, like prayer groups, like religious groups. What makes a political party different from them? It is the desire to win elections and form government. So the correct answer is option A. It can't be B. B is carried out by prayer groups. Prayer groups exist to influence government policies. C looks like an answer, but it is not the chief agenda. It is not the chief purpose of a political party. So the correct answer here is option A. Now to the next question. Civil service embraces all workers in dash. Now, I must attempt a contradistinction and juxtaposition between civil service and public corporations. Mind you, civil service consists of ministries, departments, and agencies, popularly referred to as MDAs. So government workers that you can find in ministries, in departments, and in agencies, they constitute members of the civil service, otherwise known as civil servants. While those who are working in parastatals or government ventures, government ventures that are set up to provide social amenities and to generate income, those who work there are called what? Public servants. So the civil service embraces all workers in dash. It won't be public corporations. Public corporations has to do with public servants. It won't be all private corporations. Private businesses are not under the civil service. And it won't be public and private companies. So the correct answer here is government ministries. If you don't see government ministries, what can you pick? You can pick government agencies or government departments. So the correct answer is option B. Now to the next question. Socialism is a mode of production based on dash. Now, what is socialism? In 1848, two German philosophers, namely Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, published a book titled Communist Manifesto, where they advocated for socialism, which will ultimately lead to communism. And they wrote, on capitalism. But did they advocate for capitalism? No. They wrote denouncing capitalism. And they wrote advocating for socialism, which is the prelude to communism. So socialism is what? Capitalism has to do with private or individual ownership of the means of production, distribution, and exchange. Private or individual. While socialism has to do with state or government ownership of the means of production, distribution, and exchange. So what is the correct answer here? A says collective ownership of the means of production. It won't be A. A has to do with communism. Communism has to do with common or collective ownership of the factors of production. So it is not A. B says national ownership of the means of production. Let us keep B. C says mixed ownership of the means of production. It is not C. And D says state ownership of the means of production. Now, there are two likely answers here. So our duty as government students will be to pick the one which is more accurate. So we have B and D. But the more perfect answer here is state ownership of the means of production. If you don't see state ownership of the means of production, you can also pick government ownership of the means of production, distribution, and exchange. So the correct answer here is D. In the absence of D, we can pick B. Now to the next question. Public opinion becomes politically relevant when it's dash. Now you have to know that public opinion refers to the sum total or aggregate views of the majority of the people living in a particular country at a particular time over a certain and specific public issue. And you have to know that public opinion is dynamic. It is not static. It can change from time to time. And it is not a view expressed by an individual. It is a view expressed by the majority. And it is not expressed on private issues, it is expressed on public what? Issues. So when can we say that public opinion can become politically relevant? It is when it is able to influence the policies, the agenda, the plans, and the programs of government. So the correct answer here is when it influences the decisions of government. Public opinion becomes irrelevant when citizens are just expressing the opinion, but when it has no impact, when it has no influence on the policies of the government. So the correct answer here is option A. Now to the next question. Capitalism is a system of economic organization based on dash. Capitalism, as expanded by Karl Marx, has to do with private ownership of the means of production, distribution, and exchange. And we have to know that under capitalism, we have limited states' control over the means of production, and we have massive private control over the means of production, distribution, and exchange. Under capitalism, the prices of goods are determined by the market forces of demand and supply. Mind you, under capitalism, market forces of demand and supply will determine price, but under socialism, the state will determine price. Under capitalism, there is usually private monopoly and profit maximization. And another thing that is peculiar to capitalism is class division, class taxonomy, class nomenclature, or class stratification, whereby the society is divided into two strata. We have the upper class known as the bourgeoisies. The bourgeoisies are also known as the employers. They are known as the manufacturers. They are known as the industrialists. They are known as the producers. They are known as the entrepreneurs. While the lower class refers to the category of the proletariat. Proletariats are also known as peasants. They are also known as workers. They are also known as laborers. They are also known as employees, or the exploited category under capitalism. So what is now capitalism? A says, the question says capitalism is a system of economic organization based on dash. A, trading among people who own and control their items of trade. B says very fair distribution of production. C says individual ownership of the means of production, while D says a mixed economy that takes all interest into consideration. Two keywords are important when it comes to capitalism: private ownership of means of production or individual ownership of means of production. Now, what is the correct answer? Option C. Now to the next question. The citizenship of a country could be acquired through dash. First of all, let us lay the foundation. What is citizenship and who is a citizen? A citizen refers to a legal member of a state who is entitled to certain rights and has certain duties to perform. That is a citizen. And what is citizenship? Citizenship has to do with the legal status, enjoyed by a member of a state, which entitles him to certain rights and obligations to do what? To carry out. So how can we acquire citizenship? We can acquire citizenship by birth. If you are born in a country, particularly, let's use Nigeria as an example, you are a citizen of Nigeria. Citizenship can also be acquired through conquest. When a mighty nation conquers a weak nation, they colonized them the way Britain colonized Nigeria. We were under British colonial rule. Another form of acquiring citizenship is by naturalization. This is how a foreigner who has lived in Nigeria over a period of time can apply and acquire the citizenship of Nigeria. We can also acquire citizenship by marriage. A foreigner who is married to a Nigerian will automatically become a citizen of Nigeria. You can also acquire citizenship by honorary means. There was a time this popular musician, Yinka Ayefele, he was awarded with honorary citizenship of Georgia. Georgia is a country in Europe. Are you getting it now? So that is honorary. Was he born there? No. Were his parents born there? No. But how did he acquire the citizenship? Through honorary means. So A says birth and naturalization. B says registration and arbitration. We can acquire citizenship by registration, but not by arbitration. Arbitration has to do with a method of resolving conflicts under peace and conflict resolution. C says presidential proclamation, out of it. D says parliamentary legislation, out of it. So the correct answer here is A, through birth and naturalization. Mind you, naturalization is different from nationalization. N-A-T-U-R-A is different from N-A-T-I-O-N. Nationalization and naturalization. Naturalization has to do with how a foreigner can become a citizen of a country, while nationalization has to do with, converting assets of foreign entities, foreign individuals and foreign companies into the asset of a country. Just like General Olusegun Obasanjo nationalized Barclays Bank and British Petroleum into Nigerian assets in the 1970s. Now to the next question. Associations whose main interest is to influence public policies without having to capture power. The answer is prayer group. Now, what makes a prayer group different from a political party? A political party exists majorly to win election. Majorly to do what? To capture power. Majorly to do what? To form government. While a prayer group exists majorly to influence government policies for the benefit of their members. Nigerian Medical Association, they are not aiming to win election. They are aiming to influence the policies of the government for the benefit of doctors. Nurses and Midwives Association of Nigeria, a prayer group, they aim to influence government policies for the benefit of their members. In what way? Maybe in an area of increase in salary and better conditions of service. So, an association whose main interest is to influence public policies without aiming to capture government is prayer group. If you don't see prayer group, you can pick what? Associational group. If you don't see associational group, you can pick what? Occupational group. So what is the correct answer here? The correct answer here, now we have two likely answers. Trade unions and prayer groups. But the perfect answer is prayer group. Trade union is a branch, a subdivision of prayer group. We have some prayer groups that are not trade unions. Like, Christian Association of Nigeria is a prayer group advocating for Christians. Are you getting me now? Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, SCIA, is a prayer group. Is it about people working in a particular place? No. So trade union can just refer to, prayer groups like Nigerian Labour Congress, Nigerian Union of Teachers, and so on and so forth. So in the absence of prayer group, we can pick trade union. But while prayer group is present here, prayer group is the perfect answer. Now to the next question. The operation of the rule of law is undermined by the dash. Now, when we speak of undermine, it means it is hindered, it is trampled, it is made ineffective by dash. A says existence of administrative tribunals and special immunities. That's the answer. Now, rule of law, according to Professor Albert Vendaisi, an English philosopher, he described rule of law as the law taking precedence over everyone in the society, including those in authority and those that are out of authority, rulers and the ruled, government and the governed. Are you getting now? So, rule of law has three cardinal principles. We have supremacy of the law, we have equality before the law, and we have personal liberty. Personal liberty is also known as what? Fundamental human what? Human rights. So what are the limitations to the rule of law? What can undermine rule of law? Now, think for instance, as citizens, do we enjoy a right to freedom of movement? Yes. Under the Constitution, we're entitled to it. But when there is a state of emergency or curfew, can we enjoy freedom of movement? No. An example was during COVID-19. Were we free to move about during COVID-19? No. There was an health emergency then. Another thing that can limit rule of law is immunity, whether parliamentary immunity, diplomatic immunity, or presidential immunity. Another thing that can limit or undermine the rule of law is existence of administrative what? Tribunals. It should be the duty of the judiciary to prosecute and try case and try offenders. But when a committee or a body is set up to try offenders, a committee that consists of people who are not judges, laymen, it is an aberration. It undermines, it affects, the upholding of the rule of law. So the correct answer here is A. So now to the next question. Election as a political process is significant because it dash Now, election, helps citizens to choose amongst myriads of alternatives. And election also facilitates smooth, handover, smooth change of government. So the correct answer here is that it facilitates constitutional change of government. Now to the next question. A meeting of the legislature is usually brought to an end with dash. Now, under parliamentary system or in any legislature, there are three important concepts. We have a concept called adjournments. Are you getting now? Adjournment has to do with bringing a meeting, a sitting, or a proceeding of the legislature to an end to be continued at a later date. So, what are we bringing to an end under adjournment? A sitting that is ongoing currently, a meeting or a proceeding, bringing it to an end to be continued at a later date. That is adjournment. We have another one called prorogation. Prorogation has to do with ending a session of parliament or terminating a session of parliament through royal what? Proclamation. While the third one is dissolution. Dissolution has to do with ending the life or tenure of parliament, and this is usually followed by general election. So a meeting of the legislature is usually brought to an end with what? An adjournment. Now to the next question. Arthur Richard's constitution was designed to last for, it was originally designed to last for 9 years, but it didn't last up to 9 years. So the correct answer is C, 9 years. Now to the next question. In the pre-colonial Igbo society, the maintenance of peace and order was the function of the dash. Now, that was the responsibility of a group of persons known as the age grade. If you don't want to say age grade, you can say the age group, which consists of the youths in the Igbo land, particularly people from ages of 18 to 50 in Igbo land. What were their responsibilities? To protect the territory, to maintain law and order, to function as it pertains to public works, clearing of bushes, construction of markets, construction of bridges, and so on and so forth. So the correct answer here is age grades, A. So before we read the next question, I would like to remind you, our esteemed subscribers, to hit the notification bell and do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Rock Tutors. Thank you. Now to the 113th question. The 1979 Constitution established the dash. Amongst many things that the 79th Constitution established was the National Population Commission. Before this time, we had a census board, or you could say a National Census Bureau. But by virtue of the 1979 Constitution, which was brought into place by the outgoing regime of General Olusegun Obasanjo, Muritala came in July 75 with Olusegun Obasanjo, but in February 1976, Muritala was assassinated. His deputy became the military head of state in February 1976, and he held power for 3 years from 1976 to 1979. And he established the National Population Commission. He also established Operation Feed the Nation. He brought about local government reforms. He brought about land use decree, amongst many other things. Now to the next question. The type of government operated in Nigeria between October 1st, 1979 and December 31st, 1983 is called a dash. Now, you have to know that this period, this eon, this dispensation has to do with the republic in Nigeria called Second Republic. Mind you, First Republic was technically between 60 to 66, 1960 to 66, or as some will say, 1963 to 66. Second Republic was between October 1979 to December 1983. Third Republic was between 1989 to 1993, or some might technically say 91 to 93 with explanations. While the Fourth Republic is what we have currently, which began in 1999. So the type of government that was operated in Nigeria between October 1st, 1979 and December 1983 was an American-styled presidential system of government. If you don't see presidential system of government, if you see chief executive system of government, it is also correct. So the correct answer here is what? Presidential system of government. Now to the next question. One of the legacies of pre-colonial Nigeria destroyed by the British was the dash. It was the indigenous cultures of the people. It was one of the legacies of pre-colonial Nigeria that was destroyed, our mode of dressing, our language, and so on and so forth. So the correct answer here is A, indigenous cultures of the people. Now to the next question. The eastern and western regions of Nigeria achieved the status of self-government in dash. You know, Anthony Enaoro of the Action Group, the political party of Chief Jeremiah Obafemi Awolowo, he moved the motion for independence in 1953 at the Federal House of Reps. But the eastern and western regions became self-governing in 1957, while the northern region became self-governing in 1959, and the entire country became self-governing, independent or sovereign or autonomous on the 1st of October 1960. So the correct answer here is C, 1957. Now to the next question. The expenditure of public funds by the executive in Nigeria is controlled by the dash. Now, you have to know this has to do with budget. What is budget? Budget refers to, the estimates of income and projected expenditures for a particular financial year. So it is the duty of the executive, particularly the president, to prepare the budgets of how money will be realized and how the realized income will be spent within a particular financial year. Now, when he prepares it, he's usually assisted by either the Minister of Finance or Minister of Budget and Economy. This budget, which is also called money bill, will be presented to the legislature for perusal and approval. Perusal and what? Approval. So the legislature can decide to edit or they can decide to pass it as it is. So, but on money bill and budget, which agency exercises control over the executive as it pertains to public funds, money bill or budget? It is the legislature. Now to the next question. The smooth operation of the civil service in Nigeria is mostly hampered by dash. Now you have to know that the civil service refers to the administrative wing of the executive, which assists the executive in formulating policies and also implementing policies. Politicians will change periodically every 4 years, but we have an establishment that is hierarchical in nature, that is reasonably permanent for a duration of 35 years, that is politically neutral with a feature, attribute, and characteristic of anonymity, and in which recruitment is based on merit and posting is based on expertise. This establishment is known as the civil service. Now, what can hinder the smooth operation of the civil service? It is corruption and inefficiency. So the correct answer here is A, corruption and inefficiency. Now to the next question. A problem of Nigerian federalism that was resolved by the Supreme Court between the federal government and the littoral state centered on dash. Now let us divide the question into pieces first of all. It says a problem of Nigerian federalism. That shows us that Nigeria practices federalism. There was a problem, and that problem was resolved by the Supreme Court. This goes to show us that when there is a conflict under federalism, it is the duty of which institution to resolve constitutional dispute. It is the duty of the Supreme Court. So if a question comes out that which institution is responsible for resolving constitutional disputes under federalism, it is the Supreme Court. So the dispute was between the federal government and the littoral states. Littoral state refers to states around the delta, the estuaries of Nigeria. States that share borders and boundaries with the Atlantic Ocean. These states, they include states like Rivers, states like Bayelsa, states like Akwa Ibom, states like Edo, states like Cross River, states like Ondo. And it will interest you to know that these littoral states are the oil-producing states of Nigeria. So there was a raging crisis between the federal government and these oil-producing states, in that the oil-producing states were requesting for special status as it pertains to revenue allocation. And this was resolved by the Supreme Court, where 13% derivation was allocated for oil producing states from any income monthly in Nigeria. So before any allocation is shared, 13% is removed from the total amount shared amongst the oil producing states, while the remaining 87% is shared by all the states, local governments, the federal governments, and other first line charges. So the correct answer here is resource control. Over how resources will be controlled. It was the dispute between the federal government and the littoral or oil producing states. Now to the next question. Military head of state during the Third Republic was dashed. That's an aberration. When we say a republic refers to a state ruled by an elected citizen, or an eon or dispensation in which citizens freely elect their leaders. So a republic should not be merged, should not be unified, should not be fused, should not be amalgamated, should not be constellated with a military regime. Why? Soldiers will come to power not through election, while under republic, leaders will get to power through the consent and mandate of the people, otherwise called election. But in the Third Republic, General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida was the military head of state or military president of Nigeria, but at the same time, we had elected local government officials. There was a local government election in 1991. We had state elections in 1992, and we had presidential and federal elections in 1993. All the while, the military head of state or military president was General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. So the correct answer here is C. Before I read the next question, I would like to remind you, dear viewers, to hit the notification bell and do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Rock Tutors. Thank you. In the First Republic, politics in the northern region was dominated by the dash. Now, what's the First Republic? Like I said, between 1960 and 1966, or like some may want to technically argue, between 63 and 66, whether 60 to 66 or 63 to 66, which party dominated politics in the northern region? In the western region, politics was dominated by the Action Group of Awolowo. In the eastern region, politics was dominated by NCNC of Azikiwe, while in the northern region, politics was dominated by NPC, Northern People's Congress, which was headed by the Sadauna, the Sultan of Sokoto, Ahmadu Bello, and the deputy leader then was Alhaji Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. So there was another party that was rivaling them in the north, but that party was not the dominant party. The dominant was NPC, while the rival party in the north was NEPU, Northern Element Progressive Union. That was the party of the Talakawas, the party founded by Alhaji Aminu Kano, who is popularly referred to as the father of radical nationalism in Nigeria. So the correct answer here is C, Northern People's Congress. Now to the next question. The 1976 reforms have been most beneficial to the dash. Like I said earlier, the 1976 reforms was propagated by the regime of General Olusegun Obasanjo. It was this reform that created a uniform local government administration in Nigeria. Prior to 1976, we had different myriads and disparate local administration system in Nigeria. We had chief in council. We had chief and council. We had chief in council in the northern part, and we had chief and council in the eastern and the western part. But by virtue of the 1976 local government reforms, you know, the traditional rulers were consigned and relegated to advisory duties at the local government level, and a new position called the position of the executive chairman was created at the local government at the local level. So the executive chairman would be the equivalent of the governor at the local level. So the 76 reforms have been most beneficial to the local government. Now to the next question. One of the reasons advanced for the overthrow of the Gowon regime was its failure to dash. You know, Gowon promised not to spend too many years in office. But before you know it, he came in 66, and He was there till 1975. That's about 9 years. And because of that, some young soldiers led by General Rabat Muritala Mohammed, Olusegun Obasanjo, Theophilus Danjuma, and a host of others, they organized a coup while Gowon was outside of Nigeria then, and they took over power. Why did they take over power then? Because of the failure of Gowon to honor his handover date. He had promised to hand over power in early 70s, in 1971, but he held on to power till 75. No wonder the military coup of 1975, July 1975, took place. So the correct answer here is Gowon's failure to hand over power. Option C. Now to the next question. The Bureau for Public Enterprises is charged with the responsibility for dash. You know, the Bureau for Public Enterprises is the agency of government in Nigeria, whether at the federal level or at the state level, that is responsible for nationalization and privatization. That is their essential duty. So it is responsible for privatization, nationalization, and commercialization. That's about that. Before I proceed, I would like to remind you, dear viewers, to hit the notification bell and do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you. Financial allocation to local government by the federal or the state government to supplement the cost of a project is called matching grants. When federal or state government gives any money to the local government, which is not an allocation, it is a grant. But when the local government has a portion of the required money, and all that the federal or state government is doing is to support them with balance, to what they have, that is called matching grants. Now to the next question. The most important challenge facing the Fourth Republic is how to develop Nigeria's social institutions, how to make them formidable, so much that whosoever becomes the president does not really matter, but the institutions will be powerful, beyond and above the political actors and players. Now to the next question. Nigeria's high standing in the UN General Assembly is underscored by our contribution to global peace. Nigeria contributed to global peace in West Africa, in Africa, and even outside of Africa. And it ended, in the 1970s, so much that a Nigerian, General Joe Gaba, became president of the UN Security Council. Now to the next question. The main constraints on Nigeria Francophone West African cooperation is that Francophone refers to French-speaking West African countries. So what is the problem? What is the challenge or constraint in Nigeria's relationship with French West African countries? It is ideological differences. While Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, and Gambia, while they tilt ideologically to Britain, the Francophone countries, they tilt ideologically to France, and it is usually difficult to find a common ground. Now to the next question. Nigeria's influence in OPEC is determined by the volume of our oil fields. Now to the next question. The activities of Nigeria in the international community are primarily influenced by The answer is foreign policy. But in the absence of foreign policy, we will pick domestic interest or national interest. Now to the next question. The dispute between Nigeria and Cameroon is over Nigeria and Cameroon had a clash or dispute over a territory known as Bakassi Peninsula, a peninsula that was rich in crude oil. This dispute would later be resolved in the early 2000s by the International Court of Justice, which awarded the peninsula to Cameroon. So the dispute was over land or territory. The correct option is option A. Now to the next question. Nigeria's relations with Britain were at a very low ebb. When General Muhammadu Buhari came into power in December 1983, he met a dysfunctional economy, which was caused by the highly corrupt regime of Alhaji Shehu Shagari, and one of the major actors of that regime was Umaru Dikko. Umaru Dikko had fled to London, and General Buhari wanted to kidnap him and bring him to Nigeria to face allegations of of corruption. Are you getting now? But the British government resisted the attempt. This led to a strained relationship between Nigeria and Britain, in which Nigeria recalled a High Commissioner to Britain, and Britain recalled a High Commissioner to Nigeria. But years after, this was resolved. Now to the next question. Nigeria's non-alignment policy is constrained by a dash. Nigeria joined non-aligned movements in 1963. Non-aligned movement has to do with, the association of countries who prefer to stay neutral in world politics. They won't tilt ideologically to the West, led by USA, or the East, led by old USSR or Soviet Union, now led by Russia and China. But as much as Nigeria would love to stay neutral in world politics, Nigeria's strong ties with Western powers, were colonized by Britain, and Britain is one of our major trading and political partners. This relationship has a way of constraining our desire to stay neutral in world politics. So the correct answer is option B. Now to the next question. The non-British colony, which is a member of the Commonwealth, that's Mozambique. A. Now to the next question. The ECOWAS Treaty was reviewed in 1991. Mind you, the ECOWAS Treaty was signed in 1975, May 28, 1975 in Lagos, between General Yakubu Gowon of Nigeria and General Nasibe Eyadema of Togo. But in 1991, in order to address, new challenges that are arising, the ECOWAS Treaty was what? It was reviewed. So it was reviewed in 1991 to make it responsive to new challenges. Challenges like, political crisis, challenges like, humanitarian crisis, challenges like economic crisis, and so on and so forth. Now to the next question. The headquarters of the International Court of Justice, it is located at Hague in Netherlands. So if the question were to be like this, the headquarters of International Criminal Court, both International Criminal Court and International Court of Justice, they both have their headquarters at The Hague in Netherlands. Now to the next question. The major problem of ECOWAS is lack of a uniform ideology. I said, Anglophone countries, that is countries that were colonized or that are English speaking in West Africa, they tilt towards Britain, while Francophone countries, French-speaking West African countries, they tilt towards France. Even to agree on a single currency to be adopted, it is a problem. To agree on the formation of ECOMOG, it was a problem. So there is always that conflict, that ideological conflict between the Francophone and the Anglophone countries. So the correct answer here is B. They lack uniform ideology. Now to the next question. The tenure of the president of the UN Security Council, it is for a month. So the correct answer here is A, 1 month. Now to the next question. The majority of OPEC members are from Dash. They are from the Middle East. Is that not where we have Kuwait? Is that not where we have Iraq? We have Kuwait, we have Iraq, we have Saudi Arabia, and so on and so forth. So the correct answer here is A, Middle East. Now to the next question. The scramble for the partitioning of Africa occurred in Dash. It occurred at Berlin in Germany in December 1884 and ended in January 1885. It was a scramble by European powers, to gather and resolve conflicts and loggerheads that were between and amongst them. And they came together to divide and partition Africa. Britain got Nigeria, Ghana, Gambia. France got Senegal, Togo, and so on and so forth. So it was 1884 to 1885. And what was the major reason for this partitioning? It was search for raw materials, or for exploitation, or for economic reasons. So I actually hope that we have been able to do justice to government, and we believe that by viewing and reviewing this content, you guys are going to be best prepared to blast government in your forthcoming UTME. Now, do well to hit the notification bell, and do not forget to also subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Rock Tutors. Thank you.